basically, I was not in agreement with the beef. I was like, bro, this is tech. And he was like, man, it's like this, bro. And then we was like, all right, we riding there. Like, me and Joker, like, again, we like 1920, Diamond OG. Like, we riding, fam. Like, so that's how I kind of went down. And then I remember that we did a video for it. That video
the video. Why ain't I see you around back when I was down? What's up, world? It's your boy Big Court of the Holdin Court Podcast and Legacy Builder University. You already know what it is. Welcome to another show. And I'm here with my beautiful oldest daughter, Rachel Renee. You know what I mean? We in the building. And also, I want you guys to go to imbigcourt.com, tap in with my new community, Legacy Builder University, where we focus on mindset strategies, business funding, monetizing social media. Man, we got it cracking. We up to almost 1,000 members right now, and it's going down over there. I mean, people super excited, super happy about that. So go to imbigcourt.com, or you can hit me on IG at imbigcourt, and you can tap in with my bio. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. You know what I mean? So we got a very special guest today, man. Man, this is my brother, you know what I mean? From my hometown brother, you know what I mean? Listen, so those from the town that are watching, y'all know this brother by Mac James, the immaculate one, you know what I mean? From the Chop It Up clique. But these days, like myself, we have evolved, we have pivoted, we have become bosses and businessmen. So right now, I'm gonna introduce this gentleman as, man, I'm gonna let you say it.
Roy Scott.
Roy Scott.
Roy Scott. They'd be like, where's the James, Mac James? Well, my middle name is James.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I thought I didn't think I was a Mac, you feel me? So we threw the Mac on there and we threw the 2 C's. We thought we was really...
With 2 C's.
We thought we was crippin', so it was tough back in the day.
That's right.
It was wild, but Mac James.
Mac
forever
James
Mac
with
in the
2
town.
C's.
Roy Scott, you already know.
Man, I appreciate you coming, my brother. It's been a lot. Well, this is your second time, technically.
Right. Big time.
Yeah, this is your second time.
Yeah.
But this time we're going to make it about you. We're going to make it about you, man.
Appreciate that.
Man, this brother has been around, man. I love the evolution. And again, I'll put some of your old stuff up there. Listen, we were rappers back in the 90s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We was on that independent grind. We was thugging. We was thugging. And one distinct memory I have about you, I saw you somewhere, and I think you was with Diamond. Rest in peace to the homie, Boss Hoss, Diamond Shields. That was my brother, and yours as well. Man, the grill you had. I ain't gonna lie. Other than, I say, Kevin Gates, you probably had the crispiest grill that I ever saw.
that.
Even more so than the one I had. I don't know if it was the cuts in there or what, but man, where'd you get that grill done?
Diamond hooked me up. That was actually Diamond and Diamonds in Bannister Mall.
I got mine there too.
Okay, yeah. Ours is actually kind of similar.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So we had the Princess Cut joint, so actually that was really Boss Hall. That was Diamond Shields. He always kept the grill in. And we had made a few plays. We actually had hit a little lick, and he was like, bro, he's like, meet me at Diamond and Diamonds. I got fitted up, and honestly, he pretty much got everything from me. He was like, went and got fitted. I came back. And it was kind of hard to fit in my mouth. It was like, it was really bulky.
Man, mine was too. Right. I used to hate putting that grill in.
Fix it in on your joint.
Oh, you put fixing in on it?
That's what Diamond was. He's like, cuz, put that fixing on her, cuz. So much as they still wouldn't move, so I had that fixing in there when I put it in.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk more about that story too. But basically, later on, and me and Diamond's journey, it was a grind, we still ended up coming back cool as brothers. We parted ways.
Yeah.
When we parted ways, it was on some Debo type stuff. He took my chain, my grill, cuz.
That sounds just like Diamond. That sounds just like Diamond.
Hey, fam, it was wild. It was, I pulled up to the block, man, because we had a few plays going. I go too deep into the play. We had some plays going, and some of the money was drying up, and we kind of was parting ways, and I pulled up to the block, and all the 54th Street cast is over there. Even Joker was over there, and he's like, man, I got put out the Midwest Side house,
right?
And it was like, bro, that chain. I was like, damn, and I'm on the block. It's I'm like, all right, fam, I ain't no pressure.
Yeah, I can see that.
You got it. You know what I mean? So that, and then I think I took the grill up to get cleaned by Diamond, so he kept it. So I ended up, we'll talk deeper about that, but when I parted ways from the West Side, I pretty much got all that back. And then he ended up giving the grill later to Joker. And Joker was like, bro, you know, I can't do nothing with it. He ended up giving it back to me.
Right.
And at that point, when I was making the transition of like getting out of the streets and getting back on my feet with like this new vision and direction for healthy hip hop, I had the grill. I really should have kept it for keepsake, but at the time, bro, I was just getting rid of all the old stuff. So I wouldn't just pawned it, bro. They didn't give me nothing for it because they just paid by weight. It was so many diamonds. I think we paid about, it was like $3,800 or something, $4,000 for the grill. And I mean, I probably got like $400 when I pawned it because it was just based off the weight.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so that was we could talk deeper about that, but me and Diamond, we started off like in the trenches. Actually, it was Joker who got me over there because, you know, Joker was part of the Chop It Up clique. We was doing music, and Joker was like the big time. We all was like Tech fans, right? So he was really going after Tech. He wanted to do some music with Tech. He was just so persistent, and Tech basically dished him off to Don Juan. He's like, man, talk to Don Juan. And so Joker was persistent in hitting Don Juan. And then Don Juan was like, yo, I ain't the money man. You need to talk with Diamond. And so he put him on with Diamond, and then he kept hitting Diamond up. And then Diamond finally called him back. He went down to the crib on Garfield. He heard the music, and Joker was back. At that point, like Joker, bro, he was there. I mean, like spitting wise and production wise, his beat was sure. So he heard the beats, and he moved him in the house. The rest was history. And he called me, bro. He's like, man, I got the studio, cuz, bring the tree. Like, we down here kicking it. And then that's when I met Diamond. And we kind of just became like family after that. It just was rocking.
I ain't gonna lie. I think Joker's from Memphis.
He is Memphis. Bro, I'm talking about, listen, Joker, it's a thing now. It's crazy, but the juking, like, cuz was like, will glide.
That's
like,
what I'm saying, bro, because Joker, I always liked Joker. He had a different sound. Than Kansas City. And because one of my favorite songs from Kansas City to this day is his song Crazy.
That was on the radio, 103 for a minute. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how they got pulled from 103, but that was on 103. I was on that joint, but that was that great. And that was around the time. It was a couple
so hard. And that was during the crunk era.
That's what I'm saying. So it was some other records around that time that kind of it fit with that, but Joker was Memphis sound. And like I said, I ain't ever seen nobody like juke like this, cuz literally like was moonball. He'll be gliding. I'm like, what the? And it's a thing now. You see they doing that.
They juking. That's their culture.
But they been doing it. You know what I mean?
Love Memphis. I mean, Crunchy Black been doing that for years.
Right.
Shout out to Crunchy Black.
Straight up.
Let's start from the beginning, bro. Born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri.
Straight up.
What part of KC?
Man, so I started first, man, in Toppin, bro. We was in a projects, you know, in Toppin, in my pops.
Hilltop?
Yeah, Hilltop, right.
Hey, listen, I lived in Hilltop when it was Park Towers. In the early 80s.
Way back, right. So my thing about my pops is from New York. You know, I mean, it was the Brooklyn, then my family moved to Rochester. And really, and my mom, she was from the city. And so, but my pops, when he came in, like he would always want to stay in the projects or something, fam. Like, so we started in Hilltop, then ended up going to the 60s and then out to Grandview. You know, my mom was like, bro, because, you know, she started getting on her feet. And my pops, he was, you know, they got the Papa was a Rolling Stone. Remember that song? Pops was, he was in music. That's what got me into music. My pops played the bass. You know, he was out there, and my mom was kind of, as they kind of parted ways, she was like, man, I'm getting out of this. And she moved to Grandview back when it was like the suburbs. So like, so I probably could, Grandview the hood now.
No, that's a fact. They call it the Wild Hundreds and shit now. South Kansas City.
Grandview the hood now, but I probably moved out there like going into high school. So I spent my early years like.
What high school did you go to?
I graduated from Grandview. Graduated from Grandview. Graduated. Come on, man.
Come on, bro. You know, I respect you, Mac. You know what I'm saying?
I graduated.
If you didn't go to a school that was a direction, you know what I'm saying? East or southeast or northeast, we didn't recognize that.
No, I was at Lincoln Prep. I was actually like one of the gifted and talented students up in the elementary to middle school.
I went to Lincoln Prep my freshman year. I got kicked out. I got placed there because I used to score high on them standardized tests.
Right. So I was gifted and talented. talented up until that middle high school. I started to went downhill. So I was at Lincoln. I was going to graduate from Lincoln.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, mom moved out to Grandview. And so graduated from Grandview. But Grandview, you know, it's like I said, it's the hood now. Back then, it was not the hood.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it was
a fact.
like, it was like,
No,
damn.
Grandview was
I didn't know it existed. We moved out there. Like, what is this? This is.
Yeah.
This
Were
is
you out like by Hickman? Like,
no, man, we was in Grandview. Cause I was like off, like right by the high school, like off 100, off Main Street.
Oh, so you was damn near to Belton almost. Going
I'm not Belton.
Nah, but I'm saying,
another exit. Another exit you in Belton. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that was the thing
that
too.
Nigga say, hold on, don't fuck with me like that now.
Right. So it was like it was a transition of like, so it was in the projects, but then going up there, my mom, when she was getting on her feet, then we go to Grandview.
Yeah.
But then it was like, went back. Then I went back to, as soon as I graduated high school, that's when I dropped Premeditated. And all my people was from the streets. My people was from, you know, the 30s, I have people in the 40s, the 70s. But then I went back, that's why I connected with Diamond. And so then I spent pretty much like right after high school, all my, you know, in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so the 54 in Garfield. And so,
So 54th and Garfield, okay, you over there by 5-1 kind of.
Right, it was 5-1 episode. That was the time when Fat Tone, I got some Fat Tone stories. I actually got I did a record with Fat Tone at that time, and that was some funny stuff too, because you know, Tone, back then I was making beats too. So a lot of the chop it up music, I pretty much produced, I'm gonna say 60-70% of that, because as we mentioned, Joker, when his beats, when I first dropped my Premeditated album, it was really like slow. I mean, it was kind of just a mellow.
What year was that?
That was 99.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's kind of the Trump music, the
right. And
shit.
you know, we were so influenced by like, I just seen you recently had Low Key on.
Yep.
We were so influenced by like
Northern Cali.
Yeah, like Brother Lynch Hung and them, and our stuff was really kind of just, you know, get high, slower music.
I always call it like Trump music for the beat. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Riding music. It ain't really, you ain't gonna get hyped to it.
Exactly. But that's why, again, with Joker, just he made me step my game up, because when my stuff, you know, was more slow paced, but Joker's was just like, it was up.
Yeah, he was on that crunk
shit. And I was
shit.
like, okay, so that challenged me. Okay, I'm gonna produce some records that can be played like in a club, like, cause all the Premeditated stuff, you know, Premeditated like a cult classic. People still to this day like,
that's a fact.
Man, I want to listen, you know, that Premeditated, because at the time, you know, even when you was putting out records back then, like it was only a handful of cats who was even putting out CDs in the town.
That's a fact.
Maybe say like 10 to 15 that was actually relevant.
Yeah.
You know, you had so you had Court Dog, you had obviously, you know, Tech, Rich, of course, the Road Dogs, you had Popper, you know, 6 Dirt Street. So it was on handful. Yeah. We talked about Southside Posse. They had some stuff out. It was just a handful, you know what I mean? Cats. So
that's a fact.
So having that out in 99, it was like, okay, that was a big deal. But saying that to say, it was really slower paced. And I met Joker that challenged me to, okay, I got to get some upbeat records. But that's also was one of the things Fat Tone. So when you mentioned that the Tone thing, he was on 5-1, we was on 54th, and he came, you know, he got some beats from me, and he exchanged me out for a verse, right? So I'm like, bet, it's cool, right? So then about probably a few weeks later, he called me. I think he needed some money. So he's like, cuz, I know I said that, but I need to get paid for that. I was like, man, I gave you the beats, family. Like, you know, Tone, he was trying to, you know, act that a certain way with you.
Trying to put that soft press on.
I was like, bro, you got the, I mean, you got the beats, we straight. He's like, man, take my verse off there. You know, this is back when we recorded on ADATs.
Yeah. The Lisa's ADAT.
Let's scratch it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. I didn't scratch it. I kept that joint, you know, beat. And to say that, even though how me and Diamond, we ended up being cool when it all went down, but we had, you know, we had some moments, and me going over there as a 19-year-old kid, fresh out of high school, dropping music, and like Diamond was like, I always say he's like the Kansas City P, or like the Kansas City Baby. He had the dope money, and he was putting it into the music. He had all the best artists too, like Tech-9ne, Soleil, like, you know, even Dilemma, D-Loc on the Kansas side, you know, me and Joker, etc. So I'm going down there, you know, Diamond, you know, he was really like that, you know what I'm saying? And I was a young kid going over there, but he actually was like my street card. Like, nobody messed with me on the strength of like Diamond Shields. In fact, I don't know if you remember the other Diamond Barrett. Do you remember the Barretts?
Yes, I remember the Barretts. Yep.
So Diamond Barrett was a straight up, but he had bodies. Like it was like that. Like it was known. He was no joke. And so to kind of give you an example of how Diamond was my street card, I get a call one day. It was a chick I was messing with named Felicia. This is way back. And so I get a call back from her number, and it was her dude, and it was Diamond Barrett. Now keep in mind, I didn't know nothing about Diamond Barrett at the time. And Diamond I'm like, what's up, man? He's like, what you doing calling? I was like, bro, you called me. Like, I was talking to Felicia. And he's like, who is he? He's like, is this Mac? Like, Mac James, like 54, light skin, knew all myself. Like, man, who is this? Cuz and we got to talking. I said, I'm talking cold. So I'm like, man, come see me. You know I'm at. Click. And so we outside fixing on one of the cars on the west side. And Diamond Barrett pulls up. He was a giant too, probably cuz like 6'7", 6'8". And he hop out and pull up like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like that. But Joker was outside. My other dude, Gnu, was outside. And he like, man, what's up? Diamond, all my Diamond Shields came to the door of the house, and he came out, was like, man, what's going on, man? Like, and he pulled Diamond Barrett in, and they rapped, and he kind of went about his way. And he pulled me in, he was like, man, come on, man, come here. He's like, bro, that's man, dude, you know he's dealing with, like, this Diamond Barrett, bro. Like, he's straight up, like, got bodies, he just like that, like. I was like, man, I ain't know who had. He called me back on the phone. Right. You know what I mean, like talking. So I know I knew he was gonna pull up on the block. He lived in the 50s, but just saying that to say like that's how Diamond Shields was like my street card, like right. Because I was in some circles I had no business being in. To be honest with you, bro, like it was bad. It was like that. Even my own guys, like the Chop It Up clique, like Riv, P. These was dudes that was, Revolt.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Revolt.
That was one of your guys?
Yeah, man, Riv, that was, bro, Revolt, so Revolt and Peter Thief, like, they was some of the dopest spitters, like, Chop It Up clique, man, we was making some noise, and that was kind of the pivot, actually, because, I did the Premeditated, and then the Chop It Up clique came out, and that's what really kind of gave us the boost, because the Chop It Up, again, with messing with Joker, then the sound was more like, okay, it's a little bit more.
Yeah, up-tempo had some.
You still had some of the slower stuff, like you know what I mean. But then you had like a couple like joints that could be played in a club house party. We can play it on house party. So, but going through that experience, dropping, Chop It Up, experience some success. But Kansas City, it's so much talent there, but it's just a small market. You know what I mean? So even me independently selling like 12,000 units, that's something big for, KC.
It is, especially when you talking about $7 to $10 a CD.
You feel me? So, I mean, I made some bread on it.
Y'all did that with Jan up at Seven Heaven, or?
Yep, some of that with Jan. Some of that, a lot of that was just hand. Yeah, I was out there. I'm talking about Bannister Mall. So, man, they tore that down. Like, I know. That was my staple, bro. Yeah. Bannister Mall, hustling, Seventh Heaven. Yep. So, but again, I was talking to one of my other homies about this, like do the numbers. So like 12,000 independent, that's not bad, right? For Kansas City, that's not bad, especially back there in that time. But think about when like even you was doing way better numbers but think about like Houston with Slim Thug, them cats, they drop an independent tape, they was selling like 300,000.
They doing 300,000 in just South Texas, just in Texas,
there. And so, like, you talking about $2 million a drop. Like, I don't need no deal. So that's what I'm saying. KC got crazy talent. It's just a smaller market, you know what I mean? And so that's what, I think that's what it boils down to. It's just a smaller market. They be like, oh, man, it is some, KC got his own vibe and energy is different on certain aspects, but it's just a smaller market, you know what I mean? So.
And just like that, I have now met Mac James.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Because I know Roy Scott. Right. But I just met Mac James.
Right. Straight up.
Yeah. Okay. And do people in KC still call you Mac James?
I'm Forever Mac, bro.
Forever Mac.
It's a small city.
Court dog.
You court dog, you already know. It's just how it goes. So I'm in the town, just in the town, pull up to the quick
funny
trip.
Thing about it is, I connected you and my daughter on some tech stuff, you know. And so she was I followed up with her, and I was like, hey, did you holler at Mac or something? Or I think you.
No, I told you a few days later. I said, hey, I said, Roy sent me some stuff. And no, he legit, because he came back, he said, Roy. He said, who is Roy? and it alarmed me. Because I was like, I said, Roy. I said, your friend. And he was like, I don't know no nigga named Roy. I said, Roy? I said, the tech dude. And he was like, oh, he's at the Mac James. Mac
Hey,
James.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I didn't really
He was
process your government name.
Right,
You know what I
straight up.
mean? It was like Mac James. She said it like Roy. I was like, who the fuck is Roy?
Yeah,
Like,
what who's Roy?
what is that?
Right, straight
I
up.
was like, oh, you talking about
Right.
Mac James? Nigga, that's
Right.
Mac James.
Right. Forever Mac. I never letting that
Had me
down.
tripping out.
I still, and for
Yeah.
a minute, like as I made the transition, I kind of was like, not really. I was kind of like downplaying it. Like, nah, that's a rap, but now
Right.
I've been leaning more into, because as I started doing more like corporate stuff or more
Of
like
course.
cleaned up, I was like, man, I didn't want people to know.
Yeah.
But now what I'm seeing is just, maybe they call it a little bit of the imposter syndrome. I didn't want them to see like
Yeah.
the
That's what I was gonna ask you in the
yeah.
tech world. Like, did you ever feel like, cause I mean, obviously I haven't been in the streets, but even just, like parts of my childhood, growing up with my dad, I'm like, man, what if they see an interview of me talking about guns and KC and this? But I'm
Right.
like, I feel like that's also part of our story and our allure and
For
just
sure.
what makes us who we are as
sure.
founders and why people like us or identify with us. Like, I don't think we have to hide it or shield those parts of us, because that was your segue into healthy hip hop, or, your inspiration and where you could also get that
Right.
too.
And we all have a journey, because I kind of went through that, but I watched P deal with that a little bit. And ironically, I was the one to tell him to stop doing that, because
Right.
it was a time where he was doing the same thing. He was trying to get away from the gangster rap and
Right.
being Master P. Part of that was because every time C Murder was mentioned, they pulled him into it.
Yeah.
So he was denouncing everything. And so I just told him one time, I said, bro, you're never going to be able to do it. You're no more than Jay-Z is going to be able to be separated from Rockefeller.
Right.
So embrace it, but you have the now. You just continue on as
Right.
you are now, but the past is the past. You
100%.
can't. So I had to do that too. So
Right.
like even with now, I find myself educating people so they can connect the dots, because
Right.
some people are still putting together who I am. Literally, it's people still
Right.
saying, I thought you looked familiar.
Right.
You the court dog dude. I had your, or people be like, man, I'm just now finding out that was you on Down South Hustlers.
Yep.
Right.
30 years ago, so now I find myself kind of filling in the gaps. And then also it kind of lends credence to, being able to say the things that I say
Right.
and why I am who I am, or why I may have the relationships I have, because you just don't know the history.
100%.
So let me fill you in, So I think
Right.
embrace it,
Big time. I mean, 100,
Yeah.
What you're saying is 100% correct. And also what you're saying, like in these tech spaces, it's a whole different world. So again, being in the streets and being in rap, and now being in the tech ecosystem. So that's why I'm here. Actually, LA Tech Week, I've been meetings nonstop. So I had meetings today with, Everyday Ventures. I had meetings. It's this new AI company called Slingshot. I just was they had a private kind of showcase. I mean, groundbreaking stuff that's happening. But since it's a different arena, I was trying to present myself really cleaned up. I mean, at one point, fam, I would come in with suit and like a bow tie type shit.
I'm sorry. I've seen you with the turtleneck
Yeah,
on and the
yes.
blazer,
Yeah, really,
looking
yeah.
like a straight up professor.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, damn, look at Mac James. Hey, but I ain't gonna lie though. I'm super proud and I'm super impressed, because I saw you. It was kind of like a TED Talk what you were doing,
Yeah.
and I mean, you executed it flawlessly.
I
You
appreciate
were
that.
confident. You were speaking very clear. You were very concise, very professional. So everybody can't do that, coming from where we come from, and the influences that we have. Everybody can't do it. See, I ain't gonna say it's easy and anybody can go into that world. I'm not gonna say that, but it's easier to go into that world than it is to come to this other world
100%.
and get up and be able to convince people to give you a bunch of money or feel comfortable and
Right.
yeah.
And I think that was a part of it too, was like the getting the investments and having these conversations. I was again trying to make sure I presented myself a certain way. But as both of y'all are saying right now, this is how I showed up today to my investor meetings. Like I'm showing up just as my authentic self, and I'm seeing that just resonates more.
Yeah,
you know what I
you
mean?
look
I
like
can-
you're the plug.
right. You
Yeah.
feel-
Like,
Yeah, you look like you got the
For
fish
real.
scale.
You
You know
understand,
what I
right?
mean?
So I come pull up, I had my jewelry on. I'm just because usually I'll come in there just straight up,
Yeah.
squared up.
Columbia
Oh,
But
some
now,
1999 Master P.
Stallone.
I'm about
you
it.
feel me? I'm taking it back. I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm LA too. I threw on my little, my little
Yeah.
jumpsuit, but
Yeah.
I made sure my fist was right. So, but now I still just pull up as my authentic self and still, like you said, articulate it clearly what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just making sure it's just I'm true to myself. Because it was like for so long, I felt like I was playing the game. It was like this song and dance, and now I can just be authentically me. And listen, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. But you know what I mean? I'm like you said, I can get on them stages. And it's really like almost kind of rap is it's the same like concept, but just a different lane. Like so now it's the same. Instead of me rapping on stages, I get to get on stages and tell my story.
Right.
And even on I think the one that you seen was again, some of my mentors is like, you got to add a rap to the end. Like give me some bars at the end of it. And so I added like a little, you know, 6 to 8 bars at the end of the joint, you know what I'm saying, to just end it with a bang. So yeah, just showing up authentically me, no matter where I'm at. So it took me a while to kind of like what you said, like, you know, your journey, kind of like, I think any of us that are coming from the urban setting, it's like.
That's the journey. I mean, and it usually for us, you know, and it probably did for you, because if I recall, you had cornrows too, right?
Yeah,
it starts with the cutting of the hair. That's usually the first thing. Because I did that in my, I think, late 20s.
Yes.
I said, your hair, you still, you was.
Yeah. And what
Drake.
it was is, I was just moving. I was growing. I was, you know, I was evolving. I was moving in different circles, you know, and then the maintenance of it. But it was also just, you know, it's the growth, you know, and I think that's what I want to demonstrate too, to a lot of the cats. Like, it's nothing wrong with changing and growing up. Like,
Big
you're
time.
supposed to, because when I cut my hair, I was knocking on 30. And actually I stopped wearing cornrows because I felt like, okay, I'm getting a little too old for that. So I wore it in a ponytail. I wore it in a ponytail. But then I started getting to a space where it's like, well, you know what? I'm trying to do different shit. I'm having different meetings, and, you know, and not that we have to assimilate and we have to play their game or not, you know, it's not that part, but, you know, you
Elevation.
It
still
just matured.
Elevation.
I think
Yeah.
last time we cut it, I think it was after you did the film with Cat, right?
Yep.
Was it around the time?
Yep.
That's a fact.
And he
Yep.
got rid of the Dickie suits after that too.
Yep.
Dickie suit, that's crazy.
I got rid of the Dickie
Straight up.
suits. Yeah. And I just started elevating. And like you said, your authentic self. It's funny because I've had people say that I dress like a white boy. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You be
like
clean,
that.
fam. I'll be seeing
Hey,
you
you know what I mean?
right.
I just like, I never really been a super, you know,
Fashion dude.
fashion dude. You know what I
Right.
mean? I do just enough when I need to do it.
Right.
But shit, I buy shit that fit my body. That's the thing about it. You got to buy shit that fits your body. I see so many people that wear shit. It's like, you don't have the body or even the energy or the swag for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
My
Seriously.
energy is not show up in Versace and design. You know, that's
Yes.
not my energy.
Right.
It don't even match with my body mechanics. You know what I'm saying? So you got to wear some shit that, you know, that fit with the flow of you.
Big time.
But that's part of growth. What I want to ask you is, so, I mean, coming up in Kansas City and being with, you know, Diamond Shields, you know, rest in peace. I'm gonna say that because I love that brother.
Respect.
I mean, how did you, you know, navigate and escape the, you know, just the real shit getting jammed up? Because I know if you with Diamond, you touching some money, and I know you doing some dirt. You know, just call it what it is.
Right. It was
At that time,
right.
20 plus years ago.
Right. Yeah, it was, man, it was the grace of God. And one of the things that kind of kept me away from some of it was, you know, Diamond, he was hustling, right? So I could say he was big. I mean, he was big time hustling. Like he was, we were seeing him like on 54th, he was, bricks was coming through there, you know what I mean? And it'd be times like, hey, look, like he cooking up in there, like everything. Like Diamond was getting to it, that type of meal. But for me, my hustle was always the CDs. So this is obviously a different era too, which we'll talk about on the technical side, which why I'm building my own streaming platform is because that whole world has changed. Like my hustle was, okay, I'm finna go to the studio. We're gonna spend about $2,000 recording, mixing, mastering, maybe another 1,000, maybe just say $3,000 with the artwork, etc. and I'm gonna print up 1,000 units, right? Then I'm gonna go sell them, like you said, on average $7-8 a pop. That was my introduction to entrepreneurship, and that's how I was making money.
Yeah.
And so when Diamond, was doing trapping, I was like, man, I'm gonna stick to this, bro. Like that just wasn't my lane. I mean, I dabbled a little bit, but I was just like, nah, I'm gonna stick to this. And so it was that, and then a lot of his runners and folks started getting jammed up. You know what I mean? And then he had pivoted to another hustle, which
I knew that hustle. He told me about that.
Yeah. Keep that out. I don't want to talk to you. He pivoted. Right? And so them was some of the licks that we did together.
He was trying to put me up on it.
So but that's why you did it the right way, though. So God rest his soul and no judgment. But based off our talks and what you've done in real estate, it was done the right way.
Yeah.
And so it was just a few of them moves, and his people was getting jammed up. And then I think it was a blessing, as I kind of started off talking about when I left Midwest Side, because me and Diamond, we was just like this, and then I didn't see that coming. Honestly, it was like when I started going over there with Joker, and Joker kind of felt away about that too, because it was like me and him had clicked. 'Cause I was already putting out music at that point. I had 2 projects out. It was Premeditated and Chop It Up was out. We were getting some buzz, and in fact, we performed. And Diamond came and filmed it. We performed at the I-70 joint Chance doing event. It was like a summer jam
Shout
joint.
out to Chance.
And Nelly performed. Nelly, he was gonna perform. Nelly, the Road Dogs, and the Yin Yang Twins. And we opened up for him. Chop It Up was an open act. And funny story is, we's the only people that performed, because after Chop It Up went up in there and we performed, it was a hot day. It was like, it had to be like 100 plus, right? And so the people on the stage was throwing out water bottles. Somebody gets hit with the water bottle. They start launching like full Hennessy bottles and stuff back. And so, they had to shut it down. So only us got to perform. But I remember I was back there. That's why the reason I really thought Nelly was legit out the gate is because Nelly was in the back tent, all blue down with Royal stuff on. And it was from St. Louis. So you wouldn't think a St. Louis cat would be up here.
Repping KC.
So that was pretty dope. But me and Diamond had became like this. I remember, so with Joker, he was like, man, I'm over here. I'm at the studio, bro. Bring the tree. We over here kicking it. So I get down there. We already had some motion with our 2 projects out. I remember, we would have little funny sayings and stuff. So one time we was over there and Diamond was rocking with the music. Like, man, I really like this Chop It Up stuff. And my cuz who I grew up with, Sterling Shields, was family with, this Diamond Shields. Like, I had been hearing about Diamond, we never met. But fast forward, he was playing some music, right? And it was some Kansas cats, right? And it was whack, we was listening. I was like, man, that's Chuck E. Cheese. He was like, he said Chuck E. Cheese, cuz, what are you talking about? And then we just started laughing. We was over there fading. We started laughing. Went and got some Go Chicken Go. And just that one day, he was like, bro, like, move in the crib, like, move in. I'm talking about, it was just happening like that, because that's how quick Joker had moved into the block. And then it was like, move in. And so, funny story about that too, that summer I had an opportunity, was like, I'll play basketball. I had Division I basketball scholarships on the table. Nice. And so that I had the choice right there to go to Iowa or go to 54th and Garfield. And, I wanted the music so bad, and this was Diamond, this was Tech N9ne, because again, even before I really knew about Diamond, it was like Tech. I was.
So like, this is when Tech was still with Diamond.
Tech was still there. So 99.
What did he do? Calm Before the Storm?
Calm Before the Storm, Angelic? Mitch Bade, The Worst.
Okay.
Those was out.
Right.
And so I was coming in about that time, and, me and Diamond clicked, and then he kind of, again, put me on some different hustles. So I wasn't doing no real trapping. We did a couple other licks, but he did have me running a few plays. Was going to St. Joe, doing some different stuff with some of his other runners. But like I said, that all kind of went sour. But yes, we came over there when Tech N9ne was still there, but was kind of on the way out a little bit. Because of 2 stories that kind of tie into that. One is, we had a deal with Sony Records. So Midwest Side did. So one of Don Juan's, like, I guess because his intern, her name was Kelly, she ended up being an intern for Sony Records. And it was Dave McPherson at the time. So Dave McPherson was putting out all the B2K records and stuff. And so all of a sudden we had just been recording on the block. Like I said, A-Dad studio in the basement. We just over there thugging it out. We had just been recording. Then all of a sudden, Diamond was like, he's like, hey, we need to sign these contracts. So me and Joker like, well, what you mean? We've been over here just jamming. We're like, we rocking, we fam. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? It was because he had the house on 54th and Garfield like tricked out. It was a nice it was a hood house, but it was a big house, and he tricked it out. We was all in there, and so he had the little dining room table. The contracts was on the table. Me and Joker like, man, what's up? Can we take a read? We'll take a look at these contracts, and he like, what you mean, cuz? You up in my house, you got the Midwest Side chain on? So, now keep in mind.
It was on this Suge shit, man.
I'm like, just that he was on some Suge on that, cuz and so, again, I'm 19, Dom and the OG, we was in this career, we was wearing the Midwest Side chain, but I was just like, damn, can I at least, I want to read it, cuz, can I read it? Yeah. He's like, nigga, you up in my career, Midwest Side chain on? So I'm like, all right, so me and Joker, all right, so we signed it, right?
Yeah.
The thing was, like, the whole time, we had just been grinding, no contract. So all of a sudden we want to sign. So the point is that Kelly is now with intern at Sony Records, and they had the Boss Hoss project. Really wasn't even called the Boss Hoss project at the time, but it was basically me and Joker's project. Because we had did a Mac James and Joker one overtime grind, or Joker and Mac James overtime grinders, and then we working on the next one. So fast forward, she had got a hold of that, and she had been playing it for them, and they liked it. So again, we 19, 20 at this time. It was like 2000. So we get flew out to New York City. We, that we pull up, they got Midwest Siders on the thing. We in a limo.
Y'all making moves.
Oh, this is Don. We like, bro, we finna we go to Times Square. We go to one of the high floors of the Times Square building, Sony. I'm talking about, I ain't never danced as hard in my life. I'm talking about going to crazy. It was crazy. Them joints.
Hot record.
It was crazy. Yeah. And we was going so hard, like we dancing, bro. We in the studio, right? I mean, excuse me, in his it was like a studio in his office, in Dave McPherson's office. It was a big kind of room like this, and he had his secretary out front. And so Gary Gnu was his cousin, but he was the legit side. So everything was in Gary Gnu's name, because Diamond had nothing in his name. So we was all there. So after we get done performing, he like, yeah, y'all too, me and Joker, like, yeah, y'all go to the front, type deal. And I was like, all right. So we walk out, and the lady was like, if he listened to more than one of your records, y'all got a deal. And at this time, he was basically giving away money because, like I said, he had the Dave McPherson had the B2K joint, so he was on fire. So we leave out, we excited. As a matter of fact, when we was in town, we went to go see Sway, because like I said, he was tied in with Sway and them. We get back to the town, a month go by, like, we don't nothing happen. We like, Dom, what's up? Like, man, just keep making hits, cuz. Just keep making hits. I was like, all right. So he's like, I'll give you $500 every hit record, you know what I mean? So we like, all right, bet. So me and Joker are whipping up the music. Fast forward, nothing ever came from that, and we never got any closure. Years later, after, the Midwest Side thing pretty much was done, Gary Gnu, we stayed close. He's a man of faith, and we had always rapped. He's one of the OGs too. He's in Vegas now. And he's like, man, did you ever wonder what happened with that stuff? Hell yeah, I wondered what happened. We thought we had a deal. And he was like, well, they wanted to give you and Joker artist deals, but he wanted a label deal. So he turned it down.
Wow.
So he turned the deal down and left basically packing with nothing. I mean, so.
Damn.
But it was really Diamond was just that street. Because I'm going to tie that to another story. The Diamond was that street. He didn't want to make the transition out of the dirty money, because that was a similar story of what happened with Tech. They was living with Quincy Jones, living with QD3. I got pictures of my phone. I can show you it, man. Talking about Diamond with cigarettes in his ear right next to Quincy Jones. Like they was living with QD3, and they basically everybody they came back with no deal. Only person that got paid on that was Don Juan for the production. And so, because that was he was going to be, if you remember, Tech had did the Questions joint on that one film. What was that film? It was a Pac film. Matter of fact, Gridlock. He had did that joint, and then the Questions is picking up. He was going to be the first urban act on Warner Brothers. QD3 was producing some of it, but Don Juan was producing a lot of it. This is under Quincy Jones, and so I don't know exactly what happened, but I think it was something similar to where it was a small advance to where he had more than that, and you know, dope money and cash in KC. He had Mark Chicken and Waffles going at, you know, he had liquor stores. He had, you know, the Palace, that was down in the hood, like a little club spot. It was still like such a street mentality. Like Diamond was that street where he didn't like, bro, even if it's a small advance, you need to start. That's the pivot.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
a
that's
step toward, and
that's when they came back. That's when the kind of, and we'll talk more about this too, is like the beef kind of started when we came back, because basically Tech getting no bread. Like Don Juan got some bread. We came back in the city. Like, bro, what we doing? I was just living with Quincy Jones. I'm back here in Kansas City. Like, what we doing? And then Travis came along, and Travis was basically like a, you know, really a N9ne fan and supporter, but who had money. His money. You know, his family had the, you know, the furniture store.
Shit.
And he was like, man, I want to invest. There's no reason you're not as big. And so that was when the kind of the separation was happening, and we was there for that. And then that's when the kind of the beef kind of kicked off.
I remember that. How did you feel at that time when the separation happened and the beef? Because y'all went hard at Tech. So, and at that point, you're kind of assuming Diamond's beef, you know.
100%.
So how did you feel, you know, when that, did you feel kind of, you know?
Yeah, well, I wasn't in agreement with it, but I was also just riding with Diamond. It didn't matter. I mean, like, I could tell you, like, we was just goons. Like, I didn't agree with it. We talked about it, but I was like, bro, this is what it is. We riding with you. And so I didn't understand a lot of it, because Tech was always like, he's still such a, man, Tech is cool as a fan. He ain't never
laid back. He's not confrontational.
No, ain't none of that.
So respectful,
And he was bringing Travis by the block. So Travis was coming to 54th and Garfield. He had the big excursion at that time. And Tech was trying to figure out, like, hey, Diamond, like, we got the money, man. He want to do something with us
collectively.
Like, how did you adjust? And how was that coming into this, Tech coming with somewhat baggage, and you having to undo, but these are also friends attached to him. So there's a brotherhood amongst them.
Right.
How was it navigating all of that? And then dealing with Diamond, who was a force to be reckoned with if it went there, you know? How did you, you know, because did it make you feel like, damn, I don't want to make Tech have to choose? Like,
no. As a matter of fact, man, I went in it very optimistic and hoping to work with all of them. And they always viewed me as the rich white boy, you know, the rich white boy. We're going to get money. We're going to get money. We're going to get money. And that's not what this was supposed to be. This was supposed to be us trying to find a way to go to a different place.
He got the backing for us. And, you know, again, Diamond just so street, like, man, punk ass white boy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it was that. But legitimately, Tech was trying to, like, say, hey, well, how do we, Tech wasn't like trying to dip off on it. He was trying to say, man, how do we,
how can we do this collectively?
And Diamond just kept playing it, like, man, whoop, whoop, whoop. And so fast forward, you know, they businessmen. So Travis seen like the paperwork was trash pretty much, and was like, bro, we about to do our own thing.
But here it is. Do you know that this happened? Did you know that these dudes get this right now? Like, because I'm trying to clean up the mess, and Warner Brothers wants some fucking bread. They're not going to just walk away.
Right.
And so because I'm trying to clean up this mess, I had to show him. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
This was me like, ooh, look, smoking gun.
Yeah.
Nah, man, hey, we got to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Because he don't want to do nothing. He ain't making a move. So they just made that move. And so Tech actually did things the right way. But Diamond still felt a way about that. And so then it was like, oh, you know, F Tech, like, and matter of fact, that song You Soft, we already had that in the can. That wasn't even about, Tech.
Oh,
it was
wow.
the song You Soft. So he's like, man, I'm gonna put a verse on this.
Yeah.
It was a whole trade, and that was the reason also why Diamond even started acting a certain way even with us. Because even the Boss Hoss record, it just said featuring Midwest Siders. It didn't say Joker, Mac James. It was like he was feeling so jaded about how Tech, and I was like, bro, it ain't like that. So, you know, basically, I was not in agreement with the beef. I was like, bro, this is Tech, and he was like, man, it's like this, bro. So and then we was like, all right, we riding then. Like, me and Joker, like, again, we like 1920, Diamond OG, like, we riding, fam. Like, so that's how I kind of went down. And then I remember that we did a video for. That video
I
was
remember
so,
the video. I remember the video.
That video-
Because
and
y'all
that's-
had the tech lookalike, and y'all was like beating him, had him
Cuz,
tied up.
hey, you want to hear a funny story about the tech looking like thing? Like, so it was a Big Mike, one of the goons on the block, man. Bless good Big Mike. Just saying, I think he's still doing well. Big Mike, they spray painted his hair red. At that time, you know, tech had the red hair. And I remember in the thing, you know, Thomas, man, bless him, man. He was like, you know, all right, cuz you gonna hold his head, I'm gonna punch you. And so I was like, all right. So you know, I was holding, he spray painted his hair red, so I had my hands had like red dye on them.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I was caught red-handed. Like it was like it was symbolic. Bro. I was like, what are we doing here, fam? Like, what are we doing? And so I definitely, like, that song wasn't about him. And fast forward, another reason why I didn't understand why Diamond was mad is because you mentioned Jan, and obviously the time is incredible about that too. Because, you know, Seventh Heaven now is folded because it ain't the same. Like Seventh Heaven back then, it was a staple. That was like court dog, bro. I remember I just seen the video you repost. I was like, dang, I remember that with my guy D. Hey, little Derek, that's my guy. Me and Derek, we just kicked it at
Shout
that.
out to Derek, that's my brother.
In Atlanta, we was in the.
Oh yeah, he told me he saw you down there.
He saw me. We was in the suites.
Yeah, he told me. He was like,
you know
he said, man, I seen your guy Roy Mac James down there. I said, yeah,
that's my guy. So we was turned there, but you know, so Jan the Jew, no disrespect what that's what we called him. You know what I mean? Like. The Seventh Heaven was a staple, but back then, they wanted all of the old tech masters because, you know, he was
Jan did
because, you know, he had a basically distribution because everybody wanted the old stuff, they couldn't find it, so they wanted the Calm Before the Storm, The Worst, Mitch Bade. I think it was one other one, but I know it was them three for sure. And so they wanted those masters.
Oh, why would Jan want the masters?
Well, because he basically had a distribution to all the other mom and pop joints.
Oh, okay.
So they all wanted him. So I don't know if you remember, because even like the Master P, the Girl Trying to Kill Me, I remember that was one of my, I like that record. And basically he kind of bootleg printing some of them joints up in Seven Heaven. I was like, but what is this? Because he had the bootleg case. But fast forward with this one, he had the distribution to all like the Midwest, you know, some of the West.
I never knew that.
Yeah, that they wanted all the tech stuff. And so again, Diamond's so hood, he didn't have the masters. And so he's trying to figure out, how I'm gonna get these masters. And so Gary Gnu, he was like, no, every time you drop something, I kept like 3 to 5 discs in plastic at the crib. He's like, you got them? He's like, them is masters, man. Go get them. And so he went and just had the CDs.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm riding with him. We had the Lex, the 2-door Lex. We brought up to, you know, to Seven Heaven to go see Jan. Go down his office downstairs. Jan cut him a check for $150,000.
Wow.
And this was like, what, 03, 02,
Wow.
03?
He cut Diamond a check for him?
For the masters.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
$150,000. Wow. Yeah, that was it. Okay. I seen it. I'm down there like, you know, I'm like, bro, now what you mad at taking in for? Like, you got $150.
So was this, hold on. So was this after?
This was right when the Celsius was, this was, I think, right when Celsius was coming out. Because remember,
so this was before he caught Tech at the theater.
It was around that same time. So I'm gonna get to that point too. So basically, he made it a point to put out the Celsius record. I think it was the same day that Angelic came out. So we dropped them on the same day. So leading up into that, Jan wanted all of the masters. Wow. And so he ended up getting the masters, getting $150,000 check, fam. Again, this is like 03, fam. 02, 03.
Never knew
it might have been 02, 03, around that time. I'm like, bro, you just got, man, cats wasn't walking out with checks like that. Especially no KC cats, 150. So that part, so I'm like, bro, why you mad again? Like, Tech, like, and we know how Tech is a cool cat anyway. And then to the point you just making, where he sucker punches, it was a sucker punches, to be honest about it, on Tech, you know what I mean? At the premiere. The premiere of the Tupac Resurrection movie. Yeah. So we're on the block, right? We're on 54th and Garfield. And he gets the call like, yeah, you know, they doing the premiere at Tech up here. He like, nigga, I'm pulling up. And we all like, bro, Nah, man, that ain't it, man. Don't do it. Every one of us, me and Joker, and then also Gnu. Gnu is a little bit older than him, so that's like, you know, he the OG. So you think he listening? It's like, nah, he's like, no, I'm going up there, cuz. No. He's like, you're like, no, you going to jail. He's like, come get me out of jail. He goes up there. Let me tell you why this was double a blessing, but double bad, because he goes up there. Basically, Tech was sitting down, not even facing him, and just kind of like, from what I heard, I wasn't there, but basically like punches him like kind of in the back of the head, like a sucker punch.
Yeah, that's what Tech said.
Somebody must have told Diamond I was in there. Nigga, I'm watching the movie. 20 minutes into the movie, I feel boom, pow, 2 hits real hard. So I go like this. Now, you know, Diamond's a knockout artist.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the nigga hit me, boom, in the back of the head. I went forward, then another one. So he said, boom, pow, you know what I'm saying? Down on me, you know? I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Pow, boom, I felt it. I turned around and Big Nick turned to put out the gun, and I saw who it is. I said, no, that's Diamond. You know what I'm saying? Because that's still my brother.
Yeah,
We're going through it.
Right.
I'm not about to let nobody kill this nigga.
Right.
He's already ran up on Chris Calico at the Hurricane before it was Riot Room and said, if you with that nigga when I see him, it's like that for you too. And Chris like, did you just threaten me to kill me? I'm just saying, if you with him, it's like that.
Yeah.
Punches him in the back of the head, and then I forget, God bless his soul too, his security guard. He passed, I forget his name, but bottom line, he hemmed him up. They waited till the police got there, and Diamond got took to jail, right?
Yeah.
He didn't press no charges, but still had to bond him out. But why that was double dumb is because that was the time when Crazy was spinning on 103, and 103 was the one who basically hosted that event.
Oh, wow.
So they pulled the joint, like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So not only, you know, did that go down like that, you going to jail, it's not a good look because, bro, you know, Diamond, like, you got mad respect out here on these streets, family. The sucker punch and Tech out of all people, bro, that's just, come on, bro. Tech ain't like that, man.
Right.
It ain't like that. So
Tech wasn't on that.
Right. Tech was trying, so it was like a double whammy, you know what I mean? And that's when things started going, that was like kind of the things that started going really, really downhill, fam.
You know, the funny thing about Diamond, man, I have so many fond memories with Diamond, which is funny because Sunday, shout out to Sunday. She used to always try to connect me and Diamond, you know, let's say 90s, 2000, where we was both kind of, you know how KC niggas is. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. She's telling me like, hey, I'm telling you, you need to get with Diamond. Like Diamond, you know, and I'm like, nah, I mean, I see him. You know what I mean? Like,
and you had kind of shifted. And like, here's another thing too. We talked about this last time when we were, you know, talking about GOAT moves is like, the difference from me and other cats, I'll give it up, bro. I'll give it the flowers. I don't do none of that faking. But bottom line is, even back then, when you had bossed it up, it was like a, like it is now. So it was a beyond KC. Like KC is the town, we love the town, but it was just like, it was on to something
different.
Well, your ceiling was too high. Yeah. The KC ceiling was too low. So it was like you had already kind of moved on, right? So I understand. I understood that. Like, you know, it was like y'all both was bosses. Like, even though he was a little younger than him, it was just
exactly. And I think that was the part of it too. You know, he from a different part of the city. I'm younger. He's a little older. You know what I mean?
Right. And I know y'all had a couple like you know what I mean? Like,
and even like so later on, I think where did we? It was when I moved out here. You know, that's when we finally connected. You know what I mean? And I remember when he came out, when we was at the house, the big house. And I brought him to the house. Now, mind you, you know, I didn't bring nobody to the house. You know what I mean? But I brought Diamond. And it was so funny because I bring him in, we walk, we get on the elevator, you know what I'm saying? We go to the 3rd floor. And that nigga was in the elevator. And he was like, oh, that's how you feel? That's how you feel? You know, he had the gold teeth, you know what I'm saying? And we step off the elevator. That nigga was just like, oh, dog. He was like, boy, you doing it. You know what I mean? But he was so proud. And I remember we sat upstairs in my house and he said, yeah, bro. He said, man, I'm going to start, he was telling me about the mac and cheese. Right. And so what he said, it shows you the brilliance, the ingenuity, but also the hood. He said, yeah. He said, man, I'm gonna start me a restaurant. He said, but I'm gonna have it open late, like from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. He said, cause I'm gonna start it for the gritters. The gritters and the hoes. And I said, I can't make this up. But he saw an underserved market. You know what I mean?
In the town.
He literally on my couch is telling me this.
Right.
So I said, well, Diamond, where you gonna put it?
Right.
He said, shit, it's this little building on 52nd, 53rd and Prospect.
He got that
I said,
building.
nigga, you gonna get robbed.
Right.
You know, he said, shit, ain't nobody gonna rob me.
Right.
But he went and did it. That was the first spot, the little yellow building.
Yep.
And it was like a trap. Like you put
It
your
was a
money
trap
in
for
and
real.
you get your food,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I promise you, when he said that,
Right.
and I was like, man, I said, well, shit, good luck with it. You know, let me
Gritters.
know.
Right.
But he did that shit and
He
then
did.
turned it into the spot.
Yeah,
you know.
chicken mac cheese. And then I remember we talking the same way. He was like, man, I'm gonna pull. And I think this is after he seen you too.
Yeah.
This is right at that time. He's like, man, I'm gonna park I'm gonna park a
Bentley.
Rolls Royce Bentley out
The
front of that
Bentley,
joint. I'm like,
yeah, he told me the same
and
thing.
chicken mac, bro, on Prospect, where we
Yeah.
park a Bentley on Prospect, man.
Yeah, he explained that same concept
Right.
to me. He
I
said,
think that was
yeah,
after he seen you because you had the
he
Bentley
did.
joint.
Yeah, I did. And he was like, yeah. He said, see, because when I park that motherfucker in front of the restaurant, they going to respect it. They going to want to come spend money because they
Right.
see money.
Right.
He had the whole concept down.
Right. But he tricked the building out, like on the inside, like that was
Oh, he
one
did.
thing
He did.
that was kind of one of again that I actually took from him on even a property, one of the properties I got in Kansas City. I got that kind of eye and touch from him. Like he would, if you go in, so it's 54th and Garfield, but when you go in, you feel like you in Overland Park. Like the house is laid. He did the same thing with the chicken mac and cheese joint.
He did. I mean, that bitch had the nice travertine floor, looked like marble, had the white, furniture. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, like, and that's when we kind of circled back, like we both, because, when I had left Midwest Side and we kind of left on a little bit funny terms, like I said, it was like the money was getting tight. I remember, matter of fact, God rest Bakari. So when the money was getting tight, like everything was for sale. Bakari came over, we said, man, y'all over here liquidating, like, like everything for sale. Because the thing is like, I was peeping and me and Diamond was having conversations that, the dope money was coming back so quick. But when two of his runners, his main guys went down, the money, he was still spending it like it was coming.
Like it was coming. Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so when you used to, I seen him at one point, have $1 million cash, right? Dope money. And when you go from that to a couple $100,000 and ain't nothing coming back,
right?
Now it's like, I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that side of him. So that's why those are some of the times where like we ended up, we mended defenses and all because after I dipped, I kind of broke away and I was like, man, I had my son at that time. I was like, man, I got to do something different. Like these streets, bro, especially KC streets, I had some near-death experiences.
Yeah.
My dudes was like, man, they was out there. I said P and Riv, like these was cats that was really like shooters. I had other dudes like they were smoking wet all the other time. I was like, bro, like, this ain't, man. So I got to do something different. So when I broke away, I started getting my feet. I got me a red Benz. You know what I mean? So I started getting my feet. I remember when I got the Benz, I knew I was gonna see Diamond. I was like, man, I'm gonna see him. I just felt it. Yeah. And so had the Benz. We in KC. So everybody thought I was a Chiefs player or something.
Yeah.
I had the cherry red coat. And I seen a Hoss. We was on the highway.
Was he in a Hummer?
He wasn't in a Hummer. He was in at this time, they still had the rap, we still had like the rap trucks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's another story. Like I would say Diamond was one of the first in the city, had like the billboard rap trucks.
Oh, he definitely was.
He was one of the pioneers of that. Yep. So he's in the truck and I'm in the bin and I'm whipping, he put cookies over, he like kind of you said how you seen your shit. And but he called me, he's like, man, this the Mac I want to hang out with. So we rapped again and we started kind of mending the fences because it got a little funky for a minute. But I knew what time it was. I was just smart enough to say, hey, look, Don, I love you, fam. Like here, all that back, I'm gonna fall on out of this and get back on my feet. But at the end of the day,
Diamond was one of my favorite people.
Right, big time.
When I would come to the city, he would when he had the spot on Prospect, no lie, he would have his and they can attest to this. And rest in peace to DJ, because DJ used to be there. Rest in peace to his son, who just
Big
recently
time,
got killed.
In front of
front of the spot that his dad built
what's the
up.
chances of that, bro?
Yeah.
That's it. I've been mad. Rest in peace, family.
I used to go to when I would come in town, Diamond would have them fix my chicken and rice.
Right.
My bodybuilder shit.
Right,
you know
right,
what
right.
I mean?
Right, big
Just
time.
a highlight, you know what I mean? And I would go by, we would chop it up, and he always had an idea about something.
Right.
He had did he tell you about
drink?
He had the drink.
Right.
What was it, green?
Yeah, it was it was
green, something Incredible Hulk or something like that.
He did a whole commercial. I don't know if you've seen it, like a little commercial for it too.
Yeah, and he had that. He had the liquor, and then he was talking about his World Star.
The movie joint, right?
Nah, not the movie. He had kind of like a World Star type
of
website
right.
thing.
Yeah. I remember that. Blase or something like that, or was
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But he always had an idea.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That was the thing. Diamond was just like, he had so many ideas. He was trying to go on all of them. I can't remember when we rapped, me and him had rapped, because he was really excited. He was like, man, I'm down there, I'm connected with Big Court.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I always knew what love and respect, because I knew for a fact, from my knowledge, you hadn't introduced nobody to P. Like, I mean, you introduced, you know what I mean?
I did. I forgot I did.
Yeah.
I sure
Yeah,
did.
you did,
I
bro.
forgot I introduced Diamond to P.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
He came back, man. So the thing was, is like,
how I forget that?
let me tell you how cold.
did.
Let me tell you how cold P is, though.
Yeah.
He came back selling P's idea. He was like, he came back like, man, P got this network. I'm gonna invest in this network. I'm like, bro, when you pitching like your movie or something, how you come back?
Yeah.
P and reverse the whole game.
I forgot I introduced Diamond to P. I sure did.
Right.
I sure
and
did.
I won't go too deep into it, but because Diamond, again, I have nothing but great, respect and works for him. But that movie kinda, it messed up some relationships. You know what I mean? Because if you look at the movie, it was showing him as like the trap star. It was like really him. Like it was, dude's name was KC, but it was Diamond. It was like, and then, a lot of folks I met through Diamond who was even trapping with Diamond was like, bro, what's up, man? What's up with the movie? I'm like, bro, I had been out of it at that time. Like, me and Don was cool. I'm like, bro, don't ask me nothing.
It was called In the Game, right?
In the Game.
Yeah.
I was like, man, don't ask me nothing about that movie, fam. Let me tell you another funny story about that movie. Hey, Don, that's my guy. This dude was so hilarious.
That nigga's sex scene was hilarious in there.
It was like, that was a soft porn joint, fam.
It was porn. But his ass, though, he was all sweaty, and he the bald head and the gold teeth. He was all extra.
Listen.
Hey, it was hilarious.
That was wild, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, but let me tell you, so once we had got back cool, he see me in the bins and everything, and he was like, I knew he had been working on me. He'd been working on a movie forever, bro. He been working on that movie like about 5, 6, 7 years. Like, bro, it didn't take that long to make Avatar, cause like, he's been working on that movie. Yeah, Avatar was one of the most dynamic. But he had been working on it. Cause, Diamond, like you said, of the ideas, he was just so about his stuff. He wanted a certain way where like he did it all. Yeah. So he like wrote it, directed, filmed it, starred in it.
All the credits was Diamond Shield. Diamond Shield.
He was like,
created by
cut. And then, he'd be like, action. Then he'll put it down.
Hey, and the credits was just like costumes by Diamond Shield.
That's my dude.
Hair by Diamond Shield. He was bald head.
Right, exactly. Everything. So check this out, fam. He calls me. Diamond calls me. He's like, hey, man, I'm shooting a movie. I want you to be in the film. I'm like, okay, talk to me. He was like, check it out, man. You gonna pull up on a block in the Benz, and I'm gonna kill you. Hey, just like this, I'm laughing. I'm like, hey, good. I'm like, no, fam. Like, listen, I'm not getting smoked in my debut, fam. He good. He's like, oh, Don was like, oh, you tripping, bro? Like, I was like, it's love, fam. So we get off the phone, we hang up. About 5-10 minutes go by, he hit me back. He's like, check this out though, fam. Like, you come through on the block, you got about the Benz, you beat me up. Then I come back and kill you.
Give you some dignity.
I was like, fam.
Yeah, right.
I was like, listen, man, it's all love. I'm not getting smoked in your movie, fam. Like, nah,
Yeah, man. Shout out to Diamond, man. I miss that dude.
Right,
That was one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
I wish I had connected with him earlier.
Right.
But we connected when we were supposed to.
Yeah. I still like I said, he always, like I said, paid big respect. I remember when y'all met. I remember he would always come back with a good report.
Definitely. And another thing about Diamond that people didn't know is that, Diamond, his parents were ministers. He was raised in a church.
Right.
So Diamond we'd be talking some gangster shit, you know what I'm saying?
Talking about God.
And then he segue and start talking about God.
Right.
We was talking about something. We went to Fridays in LA, here in LA, and we chopping it up, talking KC, gangster shit, whatever. Then he just turned to me, he said, "Boy, you know God?" And I was like, "Huh?"
Right.
He said, "Yeah, it's the truth. You know Jesus." And you start witnessing to me. And I was like, "Are you serious?" He was like, "Yeah, boy." He was like, "I ain't perfect. Perfect, but I still know God."
Right, straight up.
And I just tripped off of that. But he would do that every now and again.
Right. We were talking about the Lord for sure, man. Like I said, Diamond was deep. He was like I say, he was street, but he was just so smart. I mean, it was just a balance of he was so in the streets and so, like you said, want to do it for the gritters. But his heart was, he was like, I want to do it for the right reason but he was just so. Yeah, he was the streets.
Did you ever have did you get a chance to meet Black Walt?
Yeah, the 5'5", yeah. Black Walt, that's my God, man. So that's how I connected with that. So he was shooting some of Black Walt's videos, like him and, Walt, they was rocking.
We got to get Walt some love.
Oh man, come on, man. Big Walt, bro. So Black Walt, back then, we had connected through Diamond. It was always love. And even afterwards, Black Wall always kept it a buck. We ain't never, whatever, we'd have conversations about how the whole thing went down with me leaving Midwest Side and it was just some funny stuff. So, when I had the bids and stuff, I was actually just getting healthy hip hop off the ground. I was, like I said, I went straight up square. I went Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so started at the bottom of the barrel, but then wherever I was at, I always had the mindset of how am I going to maximize this? So when I got in there, I learned about the life and health license to be able to sell. And the folks who were selling was making six figures easy. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'm checking them out on the marketing side. They making this money easy. There's so much money in healthcare. Yeah. So I got my life and health license. So that's how I was able to get the bins. That's how I was able to start investing into the business. I started making some partnerships to where I was bringing money in, but it was legitimate, right? And so folks thought I was still hustling. Yeah. So I remember at the time, one of my guys who actually I went to school with in Grandview, and this dude was a straight up book smart, almost nerd type of cat. Frank Vanoy, I call him Gangster Frank now, but I think he's still I think back locked up, but had ran back into Frank, and he was the plug. All this I'm talking about, he went to prison. He went to the military, went to prison, and connected somebody. He came out, he was the plug, and so he was rocking with Black Walt. I'm not gonna say too much, but Cuckoo and all the cats, that was kind of in that. I'm not gonna say a whole bunch about that. That's right. The bottom line, he was in all that, and so I remember. I always had the beats too. I was making beats, but then I had a whole bunch of young producers. And so Frank got some beats for me, and he's like, and I was seeing Walt again over there. I was seeing Walt already with Diamond, and I was seeing Walt again over there. So, they naturally thought, you hustling. So me and, I picked up, we was in the Benz one time, and he was like, bro, whatever it's like that. And I was like, nah, bro, I'm on the straight. He's like, oh, I get it. No, cuz I'm on the straight like that. So I ran back into Black Wall, but we talked, and he was like, yeah, man, I talked to Diamond, what's going on? I was like, why Mac ain't over here? You know what I mean? What's the name? And he was like, man, he said, man, and that wasn't even better. That wasn't my play, bro. When I was getting down, I wasn't even on that. Especially with the homies, unless they was, it was like that. And y'all was, you know what I mean? This is way back, bro. Yes. It was like that. It was like that. And it was kicking it, but I was never if that, you brought some chicks around, bro, I'm like, it was too many. I was cool. So, but he said that he's like, man, I knew Diamond was on triple when he said that shit.
That's a typical light skin activity.
Right. Hey, you know what I mean? But it wasn't even true. But it was just it was deeper than that. But I'm saying it to say Black Wall was always kept it 100. He's like, I told Dom, man, you tripping on that, fam. That ain't the case. And even as much as Diamond loved Joker, right? Because he was his guy. He was always like, man, Joker the one. He was talking to me like, man, you Mac, you doing your thing, but Joker colder, right? And I was always like, man, the streets will tell. The streets, you know what I mean? And so, and Joker's still cold. Don't get it twisted. Joker, my guy, we still rap actually. But it was like, folks was rocking with, they, even Black ones like, man, Mac, like his verses and so even on that type of time, like the streets was always had
man,
the,
one thing.
final say.
Me and Black Walk, man, we always, we talk often, when we can, and we always kick high level game.
Right.
I love talking to Black Walk because it's almost like talking to a street Yoda.
I was going to say that, man. Yeah,
he's like a street Yoda.
Right.
He knows a lot about, especially Kansas City,
right?
But the game in general, wisdom, experience,
He tied in. He was blessed, bro. Like I say, he kept it 100. Like he when he had it his time, he did his time and was, you know what I mean?
And
like,
he did his time like a soldier.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Man. So
did it
back
the right
out,
way.
Like, all the way through. I mean, Black Wall was balling. Them cats was, man, they was doing it. It was
they was getting it.
They was balling, bro. I had no
it.
idea how they was balling. Actually, because I was I knew some because early on, Diamond, when he was like in his heyday, Walt was doing some stuff, but it wasn't on Diamond's level. But then like it came to a point, actually, Walt and them surpassed that. A little bit later on down the line. And so, but Walt, man, he always stayed 100, you know what I mean? And me and him, to this day, we still rap, like we rap online, you know what I mean? I think we rap on the phone a couple of times when he had got out. I was like, bro, I'm glad you home type deal. But nah, man, he's still solid, always been solid. And like you said, he was even so tied in because he was even doing, he's doing music too. Like he gave N9ne his name.
Gave him his name.
I mean, so like he deeply ingrained.
He's rooted. Yeah, Walt is rooted. And the crazy thing about it is I would always hear about, because they a little older than me.
Right.
And I'm from the 40s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would hear about them, but I'm glad that we connected more when we got grown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because as a youngster, people don't realize that, when you talk about the 90s and you talk about me, Rich, Tech, Road Dogs, like all of these guys are older than me.
Right.
I'm the little nigga out of that whole, I'm gonna say class, the 90s class of us, right? I was the young nigga. The only one that was younger than me was probably Tone at the time. You know what I mean? Everybody else is at least 3 years or more older.
Right.
So, when people gotta understand, when they seeing Court Dog records and all of that, that's my money. That's me doing that. But I'm 17, 18.
That's what I'm saying. They still was looking at you a little differently too. You know how that was too, because the KC scene sometimes it'd be like that. They looking at you like you the little homie. But I was, even when I mentioned when we did our interview, we was talking about GOAT moves and everything. I was like, I was even seeing then, like when I seen again the Down South Hustlers, and I was like, and I was hearing your name, and I think you had already been getting out of the town pretty much. You know what I mean? So it's different. I think somebody said something, no disrespect to little people, but somebody said something like, being the best rapper in Kansas City is like being the tallest midget. You know what I mean?
I said that.
And you said, I know what you said? Okay.
I said that. The thing, I said that.
Okay.
The thing about it too, what people got to do to put in context, man, people got to remember we were young.
Right.
All of us. Right. So there was no handbook for this. We was doing this before the internet, before social media. There wasn't a lot of information. There
100%.
Wasn't we didn't have industry in Kansas City.
Part. That's what I was going to get to with that part.
We didn't have that. So you got to think. And when we start this journey in the early 90s, nigga, I'm 14.
Right.
I'm 13, 14 years old, right? So you come now to 94, 95, I'm just graduating high school. I'm 17, 18.
Right.
So we're figuring this industry out from Kansas City, so people got to understand the moves that we were making and the things that we was doing. I mean, we was doing wonders with the resource and the little information that we had, and like I say, one thing I pride myself in, and no disrespect to people like you and others that had that, but I never had a Diamond.
Right.
I never had a Black Walt. I never had, these guys. I was that guy and that guy on the record.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's why it's all respect. And the thing was,
in 98, 97, 95, 96, 97, 98, you see CCG, Court Dog and all of that.
Right.
Nigga, I'm shipping $20,000,
Right.
paying for that to, dealing with Southwest City
That's
Hall
huge.
and in Selecto, and I'm doing that as a
Right.
kid,
Right.
trying to figure it out,
Big
and
time.
then coming off the thing with P and navigating that at 17, 18 years old.
Right.
So just to put in context, and even my peers, even when we're talking about Diamond, but this is still somebody in their early mid-20s.
Right.
He's still a kid. If you think about it now,
100%.
my son's 24, my youngest is 20,
Right.
my oldest is 31, but they still my babies.
Right, right.
So if you think of, you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So
we didn't know. And I think the key part of what you said too is like, there's no industry in Kansas City.
Right.
Even to this day, like, because Kansas City's kind of on an island. If you look at like St. Louis, it's at least, they had Nelly. Nelly, one of the few artists who went diamond, but it was still like closer to surrounding cities. So it's closer to, Memphis, Chicago versus KC kind of being just on an island.
So talk to me about healthy hip hop and what made you pivot all the way from the gangster rap, the street life, and going into this positive direction.
Straight up, well, it was becoming a dad. So basically, man, I was transitioning out of Midwest side, but I still put out another project under just Chop It Up. So I went back to full time, just Chop It Up records, because I've always had that even before I joined forces with Diamond. And kind of what you were saying, that was a little bit of my journey was, okay, I'm figuring out how to print up a CD. I'm figuring out how I'm going to monetize this. Okay, I'm going to start getting some radio play and new travel, the distribution. I was figuring that side of it out, right? And then what happened is in the midst of that, my guys who I was rapping with, the Chop It Up clique, like getting Riv, P, the crew, N9ne, I had a whole gang, is that they weren't understanding the business side of it. So basically, I'm putting up all the capital, I'm hustling, a lot of the money, a lot of CDs I'm getting them, they're not giving me the money back. So it was like, when I connected with Diamond, I kind of seen a way like, okay, well, he's the money man. I can now transition into like really pushing my music, still turning my hustle up, but I got somebody who can really back this. So, was deep in that, got out of that, went back and put out my own record. I put out Royalty. I put out a couple Royalty, For Much. It was a few other joints. But fast forward, I had my son like during that time too. I had my son in 2004, and he's 20 now, and really wanted to be the dad for him I didn't have. So I was hyper plugged in with him, and I picked him up from school one day, and he in the back seat rapping the Mac James. I mean, just spitting it like he's like 3 or 4 years old, but knew the words and was, because we had been riding to it. And I was just like, I'm looking at him in the back seat like, and I just almost like had a flashback of my experience with hip hop as a kid, and just like, I was like, man, I'm not gonna be this kind of influence on my son or anybody else. Matter of fact, I remember we was riding, I had a Black and Mild lit at the time in the back seat, at the Black, we riding, it was in the Benz. And I was like, man, I threw the Black out the window, I turned it off, and I was like, man, I'm out of this, fam. So that was kind of the spark to say I'm done with rap. So at that time too, it was like, we was still in the thick of things. They was like, bro, you done rapping? I was 26 or something, like 26, 20, like, you done? Like, you Mac? Like, what you talking about you done? Like, we just starting to turn back up. And I was like, I'm out. And so at that point, you mentioned Diamond and the faith part, we always talked about God, but I knew God, but I really wasn't like living like I knew God. And so at that time, I said, look, I'm just focusing on getting in the word of God, and I'm focusing on my family. And as I did that, like, God gave me this vision back of like healthy hip hop. I was like, do it for the kids. And I'm like, okay. And so I immediately just started producing like these kid hip hop records. It wasn't even called healthy hip hop. It was like hip hop records for kids, but it sounded like the streets. Like, so my dude was like, man, what this wheels on the bus is going crazy. What is this? And so that was kind of the transition. And then when it started with the music, I dropped that first project, had my son on the cover with the headphones on, called Listen and Learn. And, we started, CDs were still a thing at that. So it was like 2010. So this is like the last leg of CDs. So I got back out to my usual hustle. But then we had like the city had bought like a few cases, a few thousand. I had different organizations like, we want this for our kids, link after school programs. And so those started moving. Then we started finding traction in the school. So they were like, we're using healthy hip hop like for enrichment for like movement, dance, social, emotional learning, et cetera. I'm like, okay, so I'm paying attention to what's happening. How can I, again, kind of meet that need and make the pivot? So we started creating some curriculum around it. Eat, Write, and Exercise was the first curriculum we created. So it started with the curriculum, and then we started scaling. We started doing a lot of live events. So we were performing in these schools. We were doing, at one point, like over 250 shows a year. So you mean some weekends, you talk about Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we out at 10, 1, 3, 7, like doing like everything from, birthday parties to performing for the Chiefs to whatever it was. And then we started doing like more regional stuff. Big picture was like, okay, I'm thinking as a businessman too, like, I don't mind doing this. We getting out the mud, but I'm not about to be dancing in schools for the next, 10 years. Like, how do we scale this? And so that's when we started thinking about the technology side of things. And this was a whole new world for me. And one of the stories I haven't got to talk about a lot, but the pivot to the tech side also came from a big rejection. So we pitched on Shark Tank. And so what happened with that was, as we were growing the business, getting big traction with the shows, getting the curriculum going, again, the big picture is to become this iconic children's brand, the Urban Disney. And so we were pitching. I was doing some different programs in KC, some different like entrepreneurial stuff. And then I found out about Shark Tank. And everybody's like, you should go on Shark Tank, or you should talk to Oprah. I'm like, you gonna plug me in, fam? You got Oprah's email? But with this one, I did, just like we were just talking about when you were saying offline, is about finding the information and shooting off the emails or sending off the packages. I found on Shark Tank's website, this was 2014, 2015, right? So we had been doing since 2010, started picking up the music, the shows. So around 2014, 15, about 4 or 5 years in, like, how are we gonna scale this thing? We started creating the curriculum, started creating this kids' television property. I found the Shark Tank information, and it had an email submission. So you could submit an email, or they were doing this live casting call at that time at Houston, Rice University. So I told my guy at the time, I said, listen, I'm gonna put this email in, but if they don't respond, we driving to Houston to go do the casting call. So I put the email in, and they actually called me back. So we had got wrapped up a few shows in the town. And right after, I got a call, and the zip area code popped up, and it was LA. So I'm like, this is Roy. And they're like, yeah, this is Shark Tank. Can you tell us about, your business model? I'm like, absolutely. So I broke it down. Fast forward, we went through all this strenuous process to get that pitched on Shark Tank. Closed a deal with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. I don't know if some people are familiar with the show or not, but he's one of the hardest sharks to close. And it was a $500,000 investment for 50% of just our kids' TV property.
Wow.
But we knew, like he knew, it was going to be the Shark Tank effect. And we were just like, let's do the deal. We want to get this national exposure, because more important than the deal was the national exposure. At that time, Shark Tank was kind of at its height. Yeah. It's kind of on decline now, but it was at its height. And airing on Shark Tank was like $3 million in ad space on ABC, pretty much. That's what it was equivalent to. So we do the show, got the deal. Here in LA, we hype. I'm talking about it's about to go down. So we just waiting on the call, because we're gonna do a whole, viewing party and everything in KC at the Kaufman Foundation. Finally get the call. We had filmed in September of 2015. Got the call in March of 2016. So this was 6 months later. I'm like, man, what's up? I'm trying to wait. So I get the call. I see the number again, LA. I'm like, this is Roy. They're like, yeah, I want you to know you guys did an incredible job, but unfortunately your episode's not going to air.
Wow.
I'm like, bro, heart fell to my foot. I'm like, well, they gave me some BS. They was like, oh, the slots got full. And they do tell you at the gate, though, they have full rights to, like, they can air your show, they can shelf it. Like, it's on them. You just signed everything away. So I emailed Alex Kenjeev. Alex Kenjeev is the CEO of O'Leary Ventures. He was at the time. I don't know if he still is, but he was at the time. And that's who we started our due diligence with. Because when you're doing these investments, again, it's a whole new world I'm learning about. It's these due diligence where they want to see the numbers, the financials, they want to see your business plans, et cetera. So I hit Alex. I'm like, Alex, can we get on the phone? I want to talk. And I'm like, man, at least hopefully our deal's on the table. And he's like, Roy, yeah, give me a call. Let's talk. So we talked the next day. And he's like, listen, can I talk to you off record? I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, well, you guys got fucked. And I'm like, what you mean? He's like, well, ABC, the network that Shark Tank comes on, is owned by Disney. And they looked at your children's programming as competition. So welcome to Hollywood. is what we were told.
Oh,
So they pulled the
wow.
plug on us. So the best and worst validation is like, okay, we're on to
Yes.
something.
Yep.
They see it, but
Yep.
we lost the exposure. Like the deal was one thing, but it was the national exposure.
Right.
So saying that story to say that was the point to where, again, at the time, so it's sink or swim, right? So my business partner at the time, he sunk. He was like, bro, that was a huge, I mean, that was a blow.
Yeah.
I can smile about it now, but that was just like talking about mountain high to valley low.
Yeah.
Get you.
We own to like, we in the trash can. You know what I'm saying? So basically, you know, after that, he bowed out, but I was like, okay, what's the next play for us? And so that's when I got into the tech space. And I went through a program in Kansas City called Kaufman Fast Track. Really early stage. It was about, you know, understanding, like, okay, we knew we had something special, but we just didn't have a business model, our strong business plan other than doing live events. So what's our business model? So I got deep in the trenches. Like, what's our business model? Who's our true customer? What's our go-to-market strategy? How are we going to raise capital for this? All things so it really was a blessing in disguise because it exposed certain people and then also forced me to get in the trenches and learn like how to build and grow a successful business. And so it went from that was kind of the journey and the pivot into the tech space. And it kind of we were talking about earlier, that's when I was almost kind of felt this imposter syndrome, but I feel like I had to put on this song and dance to present myself as I'm investable. You know, I was in the streets. I told that story. Like I was in the streets, but now I'm clean and this is what we're doing. And this is how you're gonna get your return, et cetera. So went on that journey, learned so much to where now it's almost I'm coming back just to my full self of like, I done been through that. I done been in so many circles and I done seen the people who I wanted to get next to, I seen and I was like,
Yeah.
it ain't what it ain't that. Like it's all in me. So now I know how to get the money.
Yeah.
I know how the company's gonna be successful. I got other business ventures. I'm doing some real estate. So it's just been a whole journey. That was kind of the pivot. And that kind of goes into now like how we reconnected with this. Cause when you hit me up, I was like, yeah, man, this is what I love doing. So I was hearing about Rachel and Go Move. I was like, man, what I do is I love giving the information back because what I was seeing, so many people was holding on to it. Right. It was gatekeeping. I was like, bro, any information I got, I was freely giving up. And they were people like, man, like, so people started respecting me for that. Like, dang, well, you know, I'm going to show you how to package your stuff up to get the money. I'm going to help you with the pitching. I'll advise you. I'll make introductions. And so all that to be said, like that was kind of the pivot, the transition to now applying that same kind of hustle and grit that I was doing in the street, but now into a legitimate vehicle that can be something that can be sustained, that I don't have to worry about none of the nonsense and we can grow and now give that game back to especially my people, like, you know, women founders, Black, brown founders. And so now that kind of transitioned to what I'm doing now with this program I got called Life's a Pitch. So with Life's a Pitch, basically that's what I'm talking about. Like, listen, here's how to tell a successful story. Cause a lot of this is just theater. Like they want to, how are you going to tell a compelling story that's going to make me want to write a check for you or that's going to help you win a pitch competition or go win a grant or a non-dilutive funding or even a venture capital investment. So we get the storytelling right. We get your assets right. That's your executive summaries, pitch decks, investor decks. Then we show you where the money's at. So here's where the non-dilutive capital, we talked about this on the last episode, where basically like, here's the grant funding, or here's the VC funding, or here is, if you want to take on debt, you can do that. So kind of really wrapping all up in a real kind of seamless program that you can understand and like, okay, I get it. And I seen you do it. Like we seen Matt, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I can do it too. And so I had been just helping people off the strength. I still selectively do like just off the strength, but now I've kind of built this new program to where, cause my mentor was like, bro, I love your heart posture and you've been doing this on the strength, but now this needs to be another like business. And that's how I've been getting on these stages too, man. We talking. So I'm here at LA Tech Week. I've been, man, turning up, bro. So
I love that. I love that. Real quick. What the meaning of non-dilutive capital?
Non-dilutive is essentially just a grant. Just means no dilution. So basically, let's just say for Go Moves, right? I'm gonna invest in you this $100,000, but I'm taking no equity. So there's a lot of programs out there because historically, especially women founders, especially, you know, Black and brown founders, we get less than 1% of venture capital. So now the powers that be in certain organizations are recognizing that and putting money towards specifically giving this non-dilutive or grant money. They don't like to call it grant money because like grant typically is like tied to a nonprofit organization.
Right.
So it's like this non-dilutive capital, this cash award I'm going to give you to basically infuse some capital, help you push you forward, but we're taking no equity. So the
Semantics.
non-dilution is just non-dilution is just me. I'm not diluting you for capital because typically if I give you 100,000, like some of these accelerators give you 100,000, but you got to give me 5% of your company, which is pretty standard. But I like to go for the non-dilutive money. You know, if you can get that.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. So I'm sure you're probably one of the few, not the only, but one of the few minorities in your space with the healthy hip hop space. What can we do to get more, more of us involved in the tech world?
I think it's just education and awareness. Like we need to know these opportunities exist. Like a lot of times we just don't know. And in fact, I'm going to shout out this company I just met today. It's called slingshot.io, and it's spelled sling with a Y because the Y is kind of like the slingshot logo. But AI is changing the game so much. This slingshot joint is basically like you tell it an idea and it kind of just kicks out everything like business plan, financials. I mean, top to bottom was so cold. And I'm watching these white dudes. I mean, he was pitching in socks. He didn't have no shoes on. At this, he was at this crib down in Beverly Hills. He was in the shit like, I was like, fam ain't wearing no shoes. He out there just comfortable. He's like, and then you can just see like, but they move, what I'm seeing is they move with a different like type of confidence. We got to do that too. It don't matter. Like we still got to, I don't care about your skin color, like, or your background. Like he was just talking like, it's nothing like, and I see sometimes we limit ourselves. So I think we have the mindset to remove the limitations. That's right. And then know that it's out there. A lot of times it's just it's a scarcity mindset.
But a lot of times the others, they've been told their whole life that they can do it. They 100%. Haven't been programmed that there's limits. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
So they don't have to get it past the psychological part of that.
That's a fact. And
that's powerful.
And a lot of them are not coming out of poverty too. So that's why, again, what you're doing is so groundbreaking because they come from the full block into like, some people, we just got a gift, bro. Like you got a gift, you got the gift. Like you already,
thank you.
And that's why I got the flower. Like you knew it. Yeah. Like some cats, but you knew, how many cats you got on the full block that maybe no longer here in jail or whatever, but
that's a fact.
You knew it and you actually put the action behind it. So that's the difference. If you really believe, you move on it.
No,
so that's the same. Like, because like
that's
if you,
a lot of that came from, I think I was wired like that, but then also, it's not lost on me that everybody, not to make excuses, but everybody didn't have the support of the rearing, the parental part of it.
Right.
See, I had a loving, doting, supportive mother.
That was dope.
Who early on, she bred me to understand I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Right.
And I know that, unfortunately, some people didn't have that.
Right.
They either had to learn that later in life or develop it, or they never did.
Right.
So that's not lost on me.
Big time. But you also moved on it though.
Yeah, you have to still move on it.
You moved on it. Fast. People got the information.
A dream without action is just a dream.
Right. People, and that's the thing. We like it's analysis. What's they call it? Paralysis by analysis. We got so much information now, and we ain't applying. Like, bro, like,
and that's the important part. And like we was talking off camera, what I want people to get out of this too, and I ain't gonna keep you much longer, but is, don't be, man. One of my superpowers is being able to take in new information.
Right.
You can be stubborn with your goals, but you have to be flexible with those methods, right?
100%.
So you might be on this road, but then new information comes in and you might say, oh shit, okay, I need to veer a little bit. Right. Don't be so just arrogant or so, bullheaded to where you can't be told anything.
And you got, so basically that's what they call in the tech world a pivot. Right? That's what they call in this entrepreneurship space, a pivot. So they were just talking about that. I was at the A16Z TXO demo day, and they were talking to this one, it's a brother too. He was part of the Movie Pass. I don't know if y'all see that, they did a documentary on the Movie Pass company where I think they got acquired, but one of these big tech companies. Check it out, it's called Movie Pass. But the dude who ran that, he started a fund now, but that's what they asked. They like, so at what point do you when you're talking to founders or that you're investing in, is like, they have to understand when to, again, be stubborn. Like, the dream, the problem is that you want to do that, but you have to be able to adjust, pivot, and make changes in how you go at it. Because if you still doing this,
I mean, you can see that. You can see we get where you're trying to get to. But listen, it's not linear. It's not straight. You might have to go all the way around the mulberry bush and then back again to get there. But that's what the information told you to do.
Right.
You know, so yeah, and that's what I encourage people, you know, outside the tech world, you know, just anybody that has a dream, you know, or any aspirations, man, listen, put the work in, take in the information.
That's it. And enjoy the journey. I think over time, you know, we seasoned now, fam. Like, so we both in our 40s, and like, now as I look back, like I was just, you know, I'm learning to just now be present, enjoy the moment, you know, really. Cause like I said, I've been in some circles and did some things and been some places where I'm just like, it ain't what you think it is, fam. Yeah, I mean, like it's all in you. It's in you, fam. Like you gotta just activate you.
That's right.
And go and do it. Cause like, for example, you know, these pitch competitions that I won, like one is with the Legacy Classic that got me connected, you know, like Michael B. Jordan and their team, working with them. You know, I won the pitch competition with Black Ambition. It's Pharrell that got me some non-dilutive money. Met Pharrell and Felicia Hatcher. It's his right-hand woman who basically runs the Black Ambition program. So I've been going and putting myself in these circles, and you know, it's a lot of solid people out there, but at the end of the day, a lot of the times trying to seek some validation almost, but it's like, no, there's validation just within. Like, so I'm seeing like, ain't nothing I can't do.
Yeah.
You just gotta be so, like you were talking about, you like persistent about it. Like,
and even with persistence, you know, one key thing you have to be committed.
That part.
You have to be committed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because people jumping around like they just, any opportunity, like,
you
no,
gotta
you
be
know,
committed, man.
Exactly.
You know, when it's gonna get hard. The shit is not easy. You
That's
know what I
the
mean?
part
It's
right
gonna
there.
get hard. But when you're committed and you see it through, because the thing about it is, if you quit, if you give up, that's 100% chance it's not gonna happen.
Right.
But at least if you keep going, you got a shot. You got a 50-50 chance.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, you have to be committed.
Yeah, that part, yeah.
But on
100%.
that note, bro, but what I do want to do, I want to give you your flowers though, because you gave me mine. You know what I mean? On the other show. But as I said at the beginning of the show, man, I commend you for the evolution, bro. You know, because it's hard. You know what I mean? But the fact that you was able to, you know, see something outside of where we come from, you know, even past myself. I mean, you know, tech and learning all this new information, because that wasn't even in your wheelhouse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like completely learning another language.
Big time.
He told me I was a tech. I didn't even know I was a tech founder until he told me. Literally, I didn't know I was a tech founder.
See what I'm saying?
I was like, I'm a tech founder. I had to Google it. I was like, I am.
Big time, you're a tech founder.
So you know, the fact that you were able to do that is super impressive, man. I
appreciate
it. And also, you know, I want to give you your flowers and your appreciation for even, you know, accepting my child, my daughter, you know, ingratiating her and being able, just one phone call to be of service and assist her with things, you know. And I'm honored to, you know, do my part and be a part of what you have going on as well.
It's been a blessing, man. And that's what it's all about ultimately. And I wanted to continue to show like my love and respect. Like when you said, man, bro, let's rap. Like we got on the phone, chopped it up, and been sending opportunities and stuff, like whatever it is. It's like, man, this is ultimately what it's about. Because again, like I said, a lot of times folks want to gatekeep. And the last thing I'll say too is you got the reel on Sully, my guy Sully 4Q, who also did the
4Q.
Yeah, 4Q. What it do? He's also he did the jingle for the joint, which is hot.
So this is real Sully 4Q. Shout out. He did the Holdin Court theme song.
Right, that mug is hard too. And but it made me think of that when you said that, because we was talking one day, because you know 4Q, we talking about he the young boy, right? He like early 30s, but this dude is smart. Brilliant,
super smart.
And we was talking because I remember
I just talked to him about a week ago.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm about to see him in Atlanta next Monday, and because I forgot, just, you know, when I was out traveling at the Bannister Mall with the CDs, he was like 12 or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He had the studio. I don't know if you remember, they had a studio in Bannister Mall for a little minute.
I do.
And it was his pops in there running it, and we was talking. He's like, this gotta be like one of the biggest like transformations and
No, that's a fact. That's
he
a
was
fact.
like Mac James. He's like,
That's a
they're like,
fact.
nah, Mac James. I'm like, yeah, fam. So, I appreciate that. That's
yeah,
love,
for sure,
man.
brother. So listen, man, you are always welcome here as usual. You know what I mean? I don't even have to say that. You know that. So, you know, man, I consider you family. So, man, I just want to give you your flowers, man. We appreciate you and,
Thank
you know, wish you continued success. And of course, any way I could be of service, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm here, bro.
Big time.
So, man, appreciate you coming in and telling your story. You know,
Absolutely.
and we had to do it again, you know, because it's hard to condense a
Yes.
lot,
Right,
you know,
yeah,
into
it was-
an hour
yeah,
and
yeah,
change.
right,
So, but yeah, man, we appreciate you coming, bro.
Likewise, family. Appreciate
Yeah,
you.
so that's another one, man. Listen, Holdin Court Podcast, Big Court, my daughter Rachel Renee, and the homie Roy Scott. Man, we out of here. Salute.